Hey, it's me again. It's Eric Luce here, and the first episode is officially up. Your Trip is Short is the name of this podcast, and like I mentioned in episode 1, which I titled the prologue, or a prologue, I'll get into that more as I guess the show goes on, but after a little bit of fight through Anchor and the approval and upload, what have you, with Spotify, it's up. And I'm happy it's done. Like I said in the first episode, I've really been waiting for podcasting to incorporate music because to me, that's what radio is all about. It's what made radio popular back when it was founded, especially in FM when that took off. Rock and roll, the scene is really attributed to FM radio and launching careers, and I grew up on FM radio. Really fortunate here in northern Vermont that we're close to major metro areas drive-wise, but also FM signal-wise, and mainly one station that I remember my parents listening to a lot when I was younger. Born in 75, raised in the 80s, CHOM-FM 97.7 out of Montreal was the station my parents listened to probably the most, and the variety was just amazing. I remember growing up on all the good classic rock songs. Of course, my parents listened to classic rock as well, but Queen, Styx, Supertramp, Led Zeppelin. I always loved those bands growing up and attribute my parents to that, but also to CHOM-FM, and they just played a super wide variety. Well, the one FM station that's still going here in the market that made me want to do what I wanted to do was 106.7 WIZN, based out of Burlington. Well, they weren't always based out of Burlington. They used to be out of Vergennes in a place called Stevens House, and that's where I really started listening to them a lot. They were definitely a deep track station at the time, and they moved to Burlington to a beautiful penthouse right on Battery Street, and we're still playing a lot of great stuff. When I went up and visited them late one night with a handful of friends, perhaps with some intoxicants in the system, and the late night DJ let us in, and me and a couple of friends, and he wasn't supposed to. He certainly would have gotten in trouble if he had. I'm not going to put his name out there now. There's no good in doing that. But I remember just looking through the albums and CDs that they had and the vast libraries of music and thinking just how diverse the radio station was. They were certainly still playing a lot of different things out there. And that visit made me want to go to the New England School of Broadcasting, which, as I mentioned in the first episode, I did in September of 1993. Well, looking back, unfortunately, at that station, and they are still kicking. I've got a very good friend who's on that radio station. The playlist has narrowed with them, as well as so many other radio stations across the FM dial, across the United States over the years, because I don't know why. I really never truly understood why they could take a format such as AOR, album-oriented rock, and boil it down to like seemingly 85 different songs. Just daily, you're hearing the same exact things, and it's frustrating. I mean, beyond belief. I like diversity. There's a reason why I used to buy a lot of albums, a lot of CDs is what it was. Never really got into the album thing. But I pared down. I still own about 700 CDs, and I just can't bear to get rid of them. Each one of them is a special memory to me. Either the person I was with when I bought it, or when I heard a certain song on it, or just the feel of the liner notes, being able to actually open up the card and take a look at things. There's something about that I'll never probably be able to get away from. I pushed back on the iPod forever. I don't know why that was. It just seemed silly. And then I got one late. I got one really late. And I discovered I loved it because I loved having all of my CDs basically at my fingertips at any given time. I actually had like a pretty good sized one. It was the largest available at the time. I can't remember if it was 60 gig, and filling it up and being like, I still have a ton of my collection to go. So I actually sold it to a friend for a birthday present for his wife and got myself a 160 gigabyte gig, if you will, hard drive, iPod, and started loading it up. I had about 25,000 songs on it, and I really enjoyed it. I remember thinking, I don't know how I lived without this thing. Rather than digging out the CDs and throwing them in, I remember I had a car that had a 12-disc CD changer at one point in time. I mean, I could just take this loaded iPod and I connected it to my stereo upstairs and basically had all 25,000 songs going in through my stereo. And it was wonderful. I still love it, still have it. Can't really remember the last time I used it, though. It's great because it can plug into the car, but that's already by the wayside. It's funny because in my life, I've gone through, my parents grew up on vinyl. I was big into cassette tapes. I had a ton on cassette. I remember when the CDs came out and moving up to college, actually, in Bangor in 1993, and only having like 30 CDs and buying CDs like crazy whenever I could afford it and just growing my collection and growing my collection. And then I started live taping in 96-ish, really never going to anything more than just higher ground and running the decks there. But adding live music to my mediums too and burning those down to CD because you needed to play them somehow. And I've got that whole collection now too, probably 2,000 burned live CDs that I'll never be able to get rid of. So I had DATs, CDs, CDRs, and now everything is just digital files. I can't say everything. The vinyl scene has seen a tremendous resurgence. But the digital format and the capabilities that the digital format allows, you just have your entire collection at your fingertips. You had it all on your iPhone or your iPad, iPod, whatever it is. Now with streaming and data and how affordable data is, and Verizon Wireless is back to the limitless data that they used to have at one point in time. I mean, you just stream everything. So who needs a physical CD or a physical copy of something? You just grab it out of the cloud and go. So I think the future is really with that. And Apple believes that too. The iTunes store has kind of gone by the wayside. It's all about Apple Music now, and then Spotify and what they offer. And Spotify is pushing heavy into these podcasts. And there's a lot of money out there being spent on and in podcasting. And I'll be honest, I had actually initially clicked the monetization button when I was going to launch my last episode. And I thought, why? I'm doing this because I love the music. I love having my voice out there. I don't need a commercial. I actually listened to, kind of frustrated me, to be honest with you, a quick 9-minute podcast this morning when I jumped in the shower. And the first minute was a commercial, an ad, a spoken ad. And I thought, well, they obviously get paid pretty well for it. It's a pretty popular podcast, but it's pretty frustrating when you go to click play and you're basically getting a commercial right off the bat. It's bad enough with YouTube and the ads that pre-roll in that. But I just decided that I wasn't going to monetize this, at least I should say for right now. It's not about the money. It's about the music. It's about the accessibility of the music that's out there. And as I mentioned a little bit in the episode 1, it's one of the reasons why I got so excited about this new merger, so to speak, between Anchor and Spotify, because now I can finally talk a little bit out there, ramble, if you will. I've always been good at that. And then really get back to the music and play some music, offer some music out there. So many artists that are just completely underappreciated and under the radar and deserve to be heard. And maybe you'll find a new artist from listening to me, or maybe you will be turned on or turned off by them. Who knows? But it's at least much easier to be out there legally right now with some music linked into a podcast. So I'm pretty excited about the potential with this. We'll see how Anchor goes. It certainly seems to be pretty easy to record so far and add the Spotify tracks. Now, it's only available full tracks through Spotify Premium. Kind of makes sense, gets people to join. I'll tell you this, I've been a Spotify user for 8 years perhaps now, and I finally joined for Premium a couple of years ago when they were offering a promo special where it was like 99 cents a month. And I didn't realize how much I needed this in my life until I actually started using it. The commercials didn't really bug me until they're not there, which is something I've noticed on YouTube Premium. Once you get into that, going back to the free YouTube and having a decent thing you're watching get interrupted 3 times, plus it's pre-rolled with an ad, it's extremely frustrating. And I think now every day about spending $15 more a month on something just to get YouTube Premium. But Spotify Premium, complete and utter game changer. You can download a ton of songs right to your phone if you need to, but I don't need to. It's the unlimited data with Verizon. The streams are all there. The playlist capability is wonderful. The algorithm is pretty good. But I am all in on the Spotify bandwagon now. And ever since they announced this, say, merger with Anchor and this capability to do podcasting with music, I'm all in. So I wouldn't mind throwing down at least one a day for a little bit. There's no reason why I can't spend 5, 10, 15 minutes talking and then pull out some songs to suggest to you. So hopefully you enjoyed episode 1. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, like I said, it's kind of a prologue. It's a good half hour talking about how I kind of got into radio. And then I took a jump into maybe the format that I've been listening to most often the last 2 years, and that's country. But it's really kind of modern outlaw country. And I picked 3 artists that got me heavily down that road. The first one being Chris Stapleton, second being Sturgill Simpson, and the third being Tyler Childers. And all amazing live shows. I've had the opportunity to see them each live. I've seen Tyler twice now. And I really hope they keep doing what they're doing. New Chris Stapleton album comes out this Friday. I know he gets some of these sappy songs all across bubblegum country, but he's got some great crossover appeal, as I think Sturgill and Tyler do. What I was amazed about with Sturgill is, about a year ago, he released Sound and Fury, which is basically a rock and roll album that came out of nowhere, coupled with an anime that is on Netflix that is incredible. If you've never seen the anime or listened to the album, it's just absolutely mind-blowing. It's one of the best rock albums I've heard in years and years and years. And then a couple of weeks ago, he dropped a first volume of a bluegrass album. And not only is it bluegrass tracks, but they're bluegrass interpolations of all of his songs. So you get to hear his music done a little bit differently. And the players are absolutely phenomenal, led by Sturgill on guitar, of course, but with a great band behind him, and pick that up. So I don't think I'm going to go down the country route this time, because that's not what my background was about. Like I mentioned in episode 1, it was always, my theme was anything but country. But I've really found my way down that path the last couple of years. But it's what I come back to a lot for some weird reason. But my background is really a lot of rock and roll. A lot of rock and roll. And really the jam scene has been a huge part of that. Ever since seeing Phish for the first time, just after I graduated high school in 1993, right up until me seeing them at the Rescue Squad show at Madison Square Garden, 12/31/2019. Phish has been a huge, huge part of opening my brain and showing me what musicianship can do. And so I think I'm going to go down that road a little bit into Phish and some of the other bands in that scene, just to kind of get some of that stuff out there, because that's certainly what has been my biggest appeal over the last going on 27 years now. bands that you can see back-to-back nights, and they're not anywhere close to doing the same thing in those nights. And they're being brought into 2020 with some of the younger bands that are out there, like Goose, who is just absolutely slaying the scene right now. Love what they're doing. Really excited for the future with those guys. Finally saw them for the first time a couple of weeks ago in Essex at the Higher Ground Drive-In at the Champlain Valley Fairgrounds. And it was a chilly night, but man, was it fun. And Dave Grippo came out and sat in with those guys for pretty much the whole set. And it was well worth the wait of seeing them. I started listening to them last September. Finally got to see them early October. COVID certainly didn't help, but thankful that I've had a chance to get out and see a little bit of live music during COVID. So it's all been very well run and very safe, but it's been few and far between. So I was thankful for the Goose night. So we're going to start with Phish, and let's end with Goose, and we'll find some stuff somewhere in between. So hopefully you enjoy the show. I did set up a new email address if you want to email me. It's yourtripisshort2020@gmail.com. And I hope you enjoy the show. Once again, my name is Eric Lucier. We're going to start with some Phish. They're the ones that are behind Your Trip is Short.